What did a friend of yours do that turned you on without them knowing it? I was sitting on the steps of a shop with a couple friends when she came around the corner with some of her friends. We talked a bit and then she sat on my lap and brushed my hair. She couldn't get rid of me from that time on. Comma. We were married for 44 years and she died of cancer in March this year. I feel so empty and lonely and miss her like crazy. We were studying and she said, "Duck this. Let's do some jiu-jitsu," and jumped on me. I did my ducking best to prevent that erection. I was wearing a jacket that was unzipped. She put her arms inside my jacket to hug me goodbye. Felt weird for some reason, even though it was outside the shirt I was wearing. My manager and I were talking about something and he called over another coworker. And she ran up and did a little hop into a superhero pose. I was speechless for a couple of seconds cause that was the cutest thing I've ever seen somebody do. I was wrestling with a girl, not fake wrestling. Both of us were actually trying to win and we were in a ring, who I wasn't really interested in. When she had me in a hold that I wasn't able to get out of, I got a small chub. She was meant to go out but ended up sitting with me chatting. She was all dressed up and because of the way she was sitting her dress kept sliding up her thigh. She fixed it twice but stopped trying. Her thigh wasn't totally exposed but a bit more was showing off. That's how I realized I have a thing for legs. FaceTimed me while she was wearing cute pajamas. Now cute pajamas is on my ever-growing list of things that I am ashamed turns me on. Duck. As a joke of my best friend attempting to act crazy, she put her hand around my neck and tried to choke me and I just started smiling. A friend of mine asked me to hang out with her in her dorm room. We were planning on watching a movie. But at the same time she said she was going to do some laundry. I told her I had no issue helping her with, that is, carrying the actual laundry bag. I knew she was kind of taking advantage of me. But she also made her nachos. So it seemed like a fair trade. When I got there she was essentially wearing sleepwear. A tank top, half shirt and very tight red running shorts. It was very difficult to pay attention to movie. It's a little embarrassing but I had a work friend who laughed as she grabbed my arm after I told her a joke. I sat beside a girl in school. Really attractive with a nice body. She always leaned backwards over her chair to stretch and crack her back. So when she did it she let out that huge sigh and a little moan. We duck concentrating for the rest of the lesson. I blame her for being bad in school. He was giving a talk in front of a bunch of people and he was so confident and intelligent and everyone was just so engaged with what he was saying. I legitimately wanted to just suck his big dick right there. Watching him own that room was so ducking hot. A good friend and I were once drunk and tired, so we came up with the idea of taking turns slapping each other in the face. So that was a weird boner. One of my coworkers started talking to me about a scientific field he was really passionate about and that was when I started looking at him differently for a bit. Friend that sat in front of me in class who wore leggings bent over to get a pencil. She is fit, scary good looking, and has an ass that looks like it was carved out by gods. At full bend she had her ass straight toward my face and I literally whispered the words "holy ducking sheet hill me" under my breath. It's been over a week and I still think about it. Long, affectionate hugs. An attractive female friend of mine gave me a hug that lasted around 30 seconds and she was squeezing me the entire time. Halfway into the hug, I popped an unexpected boner that I'm pretty sure poked her thigh. I don't think she noticed. And if she did, she never said anything about it. Put her hair in pigtails. I legit ducking died after getting home. I was drinking with this girl and seating was limited so she sat on my lap. She's very overtly sexual but not a slut by any means. And my roommates came out and sat around us. IDKY, but the way she was sitting and how confident she was made me crazy. I kept it under control for about an hour but then with the power of alcohol she felt me getting hard. Then without missing a beat leaned back and whispered, "I didn't know you like this." I was ducking her 5 minutes later. She asked me to practice lines with her for a play she was in. In one scene she was being bossed around by her husband. Do this. Do that. Wear this when you are doing it. And that was how I found out I was a dom. I told her when she asked me a second time though. She was a close friend. And we had a good talk about it. She helped me figure out what was going on. We did actually hook up a few times. But it was 10 years after this took place. We are still great friends. She turned pages and pulled stops for my college junior year organ recital. As she moved from one side of the organ console to the other, she kept brushing me with her breasts. I feel so weird reading everyone's comment and realizing I never got turned on by a friend. It legitimately never happened. Ever. People that I consider just friends are in this friend zone in my head where I can't conceivably be turned on by them. I guess it's because if they're just a friend I subconsciously eliminated them from being duckable in my head. I'm a dude. Called me a ducking retard. We were at a local indie wrestling show. And she started heckling one of the guys in the ring. He started responding to her. And then tried to pick a fight. Pointing for her to get in the ring. Instead, she just points at her feet and stares this hulk of a wrestler down until he relents. Ducking down. A college housemate was on the couch next to me as we watched TV one night. She mentioned a concert that was coming up and asked if I was down to go. I wasn't too keen so I turned and have her a blank stare. She held my gaze and moved her eyebrows up and down twice quickly. The effect was devastating. I don't know if it counts as turned on or a moment of deep infatuation. But I still think about those goddamn eyebrows. One time, I was grabbing lunch with a friend. I'm kind of dorky and like things like comics and video games. Most of the time when I bring it up, guys feel the need to keep talking lore with me until they paint me into a corner with something I don't know. It's like they are testing my knowledge or something because they think I'm a poser. This time was different though. He just let me gush and then told me about the stuff he liked without being a snob about it. We didn't agree on all points but he wasn't confrontational about it. I'm a really soft-spoken and shy person but I could have grabbed his collar and kissed him right then and there. I wanted him to grab my hand on the way home so bad but he never did. We've known each other 4 years now and he just recently told me that he had a crush on another girl he was friends with. Just about shattered my whole world but I'll be okay with some time. Snapchat girl fighter. She never wears skirts. Except for that one time she did. It was this light colorful flowing number. It did amazing things to her already fantastic figure. One of my friends once said, as she looked at herself in the mirror, "Damn. I'd duck myself." Really turned me on for some reason. I had a crush on a friend for a couple of weeks when I got a feeling that it was fading. But because feelings are complicated. But then he trimmed his beard. Ah shit. Here we go again. So I'm in a very committed relationship with my BF. But my female friend unintentionally turned me on one day. Her and her husband came by to hang out. She was wearing black shorts with ripped tights underneath. I don't know why but when women wear tights under shorts, it makes me a bit weak. She's tiny and decided she was going to lay on my lover seat and just showed off her legs to me. I had never been so confused and felt so bad in my life. So it was the day after this huge natural disaster happened. Major news story in the US in August 2017. And the government agency I work for was like, all hands on deck. So every civil engineer was assigned to relief and recovery efforts. Including me. The guy who sat next to me at work was your typical nerdy engineer. But dressed nicer. Then as I was waiting outside to be sent to the field, I saw him getting out of a truck wearing dirty jeans, steel toe boots, and carrying his hard hat. Looking all sweaty and dirty and delicious. He's my boyfriend now. I made out with a friend one time. My pants stayed on but it got a little handsy. The next weekend we are out with friends at a bar. It was just her and I talking and I made a self-deprecating joke about the size of my pen 15. She replied, "It's not that small." Obviously. All I heard was, "You have the biggest big dick I have even seen." No matter the person, anyone whispering in my ear turns me on. It doesn't even matter what they say, haha. That she let me lightly bully her. I didn't do something like calling her ugly or psychical abuse, but just teasing and patting her head. I started teasing and patting her as a prank. I don't know which was the cause. Just after some time of that hook us up together. She let me did it because she had a crush on me though. I miss her so much. I have an attractive female friend who I was visiting. We were sitting in her kitchen and she got up to get a Coke from her refrigerator. She was wearing short shorts, and as she bent over to get the soda she asked me if I wanted anything. It took me a few seconds, but I managed to say no. I lied. I lost a bet and he arched one of his eyebrows and gave me that smirk as he advanced towards me while unbuttoning his sleeves and rolling them up, saying, "What should I make you do for losing? When I was a junior in HS, I was in marching band. We were going to be marching at a home football game. So I was changing into my band uniform in a spare practice room. Just finishing up when my best friend, a pretty girl with big green eyes, walks in and was like, "Yo, I'm going to change in here." Before I could turn around or leave, she was stripping out of her shirt. And from there slipped off her pants, leaving me slack-jawed and trying desperately not to stare at her half-naked body. She just jabbered on about her day and her life while she put on her band uniform. And like that it was over. We talked about it later. And we realized that it wasn't her standing there in a bra and panties that got me so hard. It was the actual act and movement of her undressing. Something about watching the interplay of muscles while a female does that just drives me wild. My friend laid next to me on her belly while we were watching TV. Just seeing her butt with her legs fully extended. It was hard to focus on the TV, lol. I had a friend, F, in college that I was pretty close with. We had a lot of overlap in our classes. We were from the same city, so occasionally drove back home together. Our college was 4 hours away. etc. We got along very well. But most of our interaction was class homework related rather than social stuff. So I never really thought about her in a romantic context. She was one of those staying and study on Friday Saturday nights underclassmen. And I was going out and getting loaded every weekend. One day in the computer lab, she came up behind me and put her hands on my shoulders and asked me a perfectly normal question about what I was working on. There was just something about the physical touch. The fact that I was distracted. Her scent. The fact that we were close friends. I jumped like someone had hit me with a cattle prod. It dawned on me that this is someone I should be trying to date instead of going out and getting wasted at yet another kegger. Unfortunately, she was dating someone at the time. I was nowhere near forward enough to try and break someone up. And I didn't want to risk our friendship. So nothing ever happened. She was in one relationship or another for the rest of college. And ended up marrying the guy she dated our senior year. She solved a complex mathematical equation with logic I hadn't thought of before. I had never been so turned on by how someone's mind worked before that. Made 2 braids, one down each side of her head. Wore skimpy clothing around me. Yeah. That and physical contact were rough when I was teenager. I have always had a thing for men who are older than me, but that was a deep dark secret as a teenage guy in a strict Southern Baptist home. I worked through my teens and early 20s at a grocery store while I went to high school and college. And I worked with an older guy who I really grew to like. He was funny and a nice guy, and I found him super cute. One night after closing the store, we were finishing cleaning up and stuff, and he stopped to tuck in his shirt and he dropped his pants down around his thighs while he smoothed his shirt down and tucked it into his pants. Then pulled up his pants and zipped them back up. For a brief second, this guy I had a crush on for like a year was standing there in his tighty-whities. I almost died.